All right, welcome. This is going to be the update from the iRODS Consortium given by Jason Coposky. Take it away, Jason.
All right, thank you, Terrell. So I'm here to just give you an update on the business of the year, the activities at the consortium level, and we'll follow up with a technology update after this. So for those that don't know, the iRODS Consortium is a nonprofit organization housed at the Renaissance Computing Institute, which is one of 60 research centers and institutes at UNC Chapel Hill. We are effectively employees of and do business as a university. Our mission is one of continuous improvement. This includes not only the source code, for which we're grateful for all the bug reports, but as a community. We as a community need to continue to bring new ideas, new use cases, and new experiences together in order to grow. We need to grow the community, encourage adoption of new users in order to bring in those new ideas and use cases, so we may continue to meet the needs of the community into the future. So this technology is rooted in our community. As a community, we need to come together to agree upon how these new ideas and use cases will interact, how we bring complex infrastructure together into a functioning whole in order to advance our common goals. And finally, if we do all of these things well, we believe that as an organization, we will continue to demonstrate our value to our membership. In 2008, the DICE group led by Dr. Regan Moore joined both RENCI and the School of Information Library Sciences at UNC Chapel Hill. Collaborations followed in which iRODS became a critical component in many projects at RENCI. As the research for the core code base was completed, we needed a sustainability model, which became very apparent. In 2013, the iRODS Consortium was founded to meet that need by RENCI, the DICE group, and DDN is our first sustaining member. The consortium accepted control of the core code base in 2014 and continues development with over 40 releases to date. Our membership includes organizations from enterprise environments such as Bayer to storage vendors such as Cloudian and OpenIO. This includes many universities and research institutes such as Utrecht University and the Wellcome Sanger Institute. We believe our strength is in our community and the growing diversity of our membership. So to date, we have 21 membership renewals, 6 new members, 9 service contracts, and many proofs of concept. We have attended over 15 conferences and events, which are effectively our method of business development. For 2019 to 2020, our new membership includes Bank out of Quebec, CNES out of France, KU Leuven out of Belgium, OpenIO also out of France, and 2 members who wish to remain anonymous. In 2019 to 2020, we've had many working groups, which are effectively organized community efforts to standardize on protocols, technologies, and methodologies. So this is where we try to bring this community together in order to agree upon how all of these complex pieces of infrastructure interact. And I believe that Nirav said it much better than I have, that we need to figure out how all of these pieces can fit together in a common fashion in order to make all of this infrastructure useful going forward. So we've had a successful authentication working group, which is talking about how we can manage identity within the community and how we can manage identity across all of this different infrastructure. We've had a working group related to MetaLinux, which is one of our web interfaces supported by the consortium, and how metadata templates are going to interact with these various interfaces. So these templates give us the ability to standardize on how metadata can be both presented to users as well as requested from users in order to be applied to these various collections of data. And finally, we have a file system working group, which discusses how iRODS can interact with a file system on the back end. So listening to change logs, following those changes, and then maintaining the synchronicity between the catalog, as well as those changes within the file system, so we can apply policy upon that data without needing the users to interact with the catalog or the iRODS protocol directly. And we'll see many more details about this in the following technology update. So for 2020 to 2021, we really want to focus on those localized user groups. So how can we bring smaller communities together in order to provide training to each other, as we have previously discussed? And how can we build these local communities sustainably in order to sustain, once again, the global community? So ultimately, this is all about bringing people together around this common cause in order to foster this development. We also wish to continue engagement with our system integrators. So as this community continues to expand, we need to interact with users who are much, much farther away than we are, and we do not have the boots on the ground as an organization in order to provide the level of interaction with our user base. And so we continue to engage system integrators who can provide the boots on the ground in order to interact with our community. And we're going to focus on a tier 3 support model on the back end, so we have the ability to support our frontline users out in the field. And ultimately, we need to tighten our focus on specific verticals. So iRODS as a technology can reach many different communities, but once we have reached that community, beyond providing a standardized interface between the data at rest on some storage system somewhere, we need to figure out how we can provide better value and better integrate vertically within these different verticals. So we need to push up into that vertical in order to provide that value and provide better interaction between the catalog and iRODS on the back end in order to meet those needs. And our business model is very simple. So we start with a proof of concept. So we will engage the community, and then we can help them along with their various use cases, either in a hands-on fashion where the users will do the body of the work, and then we will simply advise from afar, or we provide service and support contracts in order to help new users get started. And then we can provide hands-on keyboard, largely either on-site or possibly remotely, in order to stand up this infrastructure. And I found that a large part of that is actually working with the communities of practice or the communities of interest on-site, and then bringing those groups together around a table to make decisions about what those use cases are, how those users are going to interact with the system, what those computational requirements are going to be, and how all of these different pieces fit together. So largely, this interaction is more about bringing people together and understanding those requirements, rather than, in fact, just putting hands on keyboard and standing up these environments. Another way we interact with the community is, of course, a consortium membership, which comes at 4 levels. So that includes anywhere between 100 to 300 hours of support. Those hours can be used for any purpose you like, from custom development to providing on-site training. And you get the ability to participate in the roadmap and join the community within the consortium and help steer this technology in a direction that is of interest, which is great for us because that allows us to pull all of those use cases I mentioned in earlier. Gathering those use cases from our community and allowing that to influence the software is how we maintain relevance within these different infrastructure environments, because we're going to take that 100 to 200 year view on data management. And then from there, work and maintain relevance to all of these new use cases going forward. And if you're a consortium membership and you need additional service and support, you get a discounted hourly rate. And as I said earlier, the last way that we're working to sustain this community is working on tier 3 support, where we're going to engage those system integrators, the computational vendors, and the storage vendors who have the boots on the ground and user-facing employees, and then work with them in a tier 3 model on the back end in order to provide specific iRODS support. And so the question that we really have here, and why we're bringing this whole community together, is what are we missing? We need to gather that knowledge and that intelligence from our community. So we would like to have a lot of questions asked. We need a lot of commentary. We're going to be following along in Slack, and we need to get all of that knowledge from our user base so then we can reflect it back out to the community as standardized practices. Thank you.
Very good. I have now resynced my clock, so it's only 10:06. Apparently I was a couple minutes ahead. Do we have any questions from community about the organization, the consortium, the plan, the business model? Most of you are already aware of how that works because that's why you're in the room.
Yes,
But
indeed.
we know that there's a few people here who are new and are new entrants, and we'd be happy to answer any kind of question that makes sense for you. I do have one from a Mr. John Constable. He's a Sanger. He'd like Jason to explore the system integrators a bit more. So much to dig into. Does that imply iRODS appliances? How does that work with hours of support? What would that look like?
Excellent. Yeah, that's a great question. So it differs between the system integrators. Currently, we have not had that many interactions. So we have worked with OCF in the UK, and they were supporting Public Health England. And that contract is then moved to another storage vendor, and we are working with that storage vendor in order to support Public Health England, which is effectively a pass-through model on these service and support hours. That has been quite successful, but the level of engagement is much higher with another one of our partners in Japan, Pacific Tech, who is actually out reselling iRODS support and effectively working in a pass-through model, because as a university, we really only have the ability to sell our support hours in one fashion or another. They are actually a tier 2 vendor, so they are working with a tier 1 vendor who has the actual boots on the ground. So that would be a Dell or a Fujitsu or another organization like that. So to start, we are going to be working to basically put hands on keyboards remotely and simultaneously work with the tier 2 vendor in a training model. So we will be working side by side as they learn iRODS and the system itself, and then they will move into that more of the tier 2 role, and we will back off into the tier 3 role. So that is a model that I hope to reproduce with a number of other system integrators around the world. Supporting teams in Japan is just going to be very difficult. And so we're quite grateful for this partnership with Pacific Tech.
Right. I think in general, iRODS Consortium would be happy to only fix bugs, and the support can be handed to someone else. That's how we can scale and create our biggest impact.
Exactly. There's really no way for us to scale out the application engineering team in a fashion that makes sense, and we can't support remote employees, so that is also a challenge.
We have a question from French National Library. I'm going to pronounce this poorly, so maybe I won't even try. It's in Slack. The Jargon API will be supported by the consortium.
The which API?
The Jargon API.
The Jargon API. Yes, we're collaborating with an IEHS on that, but we do have Java developers on the team who are gaining expertise within that API, and we intend to support that moving forward.
Very good.
Yeah.
Is there anything else? Anybody would like to ask a question live on the air here? 136 people.
Well, if any organizations out there are engaged with system integrators like OCF and Pacific Tech, Worldwide Technologies is another one in which we are in discussion. Please let us know, because we would be happy to work with them. I believe this is going to be a good model for us all going forward. So yes, please bring them to the table.
I do have one raised hand, a Mr. Nirav Merchant from Arizona.
Sounds familiar.
Hi, Jason. My question sort of is more procedural. If there are features that the community sees valuable, what is the process to bring it to the attention of of the consortium? And is there something that you can tell us of how to do that?
Yes, so we hold a planning committee and technology working group every month. If there are features that are of interest, then they will be discussed there and then added up to the roadmap, upon which the membership then votes for the next release. And so we can engage via GitHub and then just say, we would like to bring this up for discussion there. And then from there, we can add it to the agenda. We also send out a call for the agenda every month for the membership. So that is largely our process.
And I have a sort of a second part to the question is, I'm starting to see a lot of motivated students build things. I've seen some early work, I think, from University of Utrecht, where they're doing things. And if you guys remember, the Python iRODS client that came from Cyverse was also work of students. Mm-hmm. And I'm wondering if there is a way to channel that creative energy from students that are building things and either showcase them in iRODS or some way to adopt what they've created and consumed by others. Any thoughts on how we could encourage that?
Absolutely. If we can encourage them to demonstrate those here via talks or whatever at the user group, that would be fantastic. We now have a student award, which we are giving out. So that would be something we absolutely wish to encourage. And yeah, with the University of Utrecht was fantastically successful in building a body of iRODS experts from their student base. And so we do need to bring those things to the attention of the consortium. That could once again either be via GitHub, just simply making the consortium aware of that, and we can also perhaps start showcasing those at the technology working group. If there are any new submissions that are brought to our attention, we would be happy to discuss them and bring that to the attention of the global community.
So, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. It's a great idea.
Thank you, Nirav. We have two, if anyone as we can wrap it up.
We are having a bit of audio trouble.
A little bit better now. All right, so I think we have no more questions right now. And we will thank you, Jason.
All right, thank you very much.